Hey guys, it's Darby, welcome to the channel. This is my guide for everything you're going to need to know about how to build the Emanator of ERUDITION, the Herta, in Honkai Star Rail. The Herta is an ice character following the path of ERUDITION. She is going to be a crit-based AoE main DPS who will want to work with another ERUDITION teammate similarly to how Acheron works with the Nihility. And she's an Emanator, so she's going to be real strong. So let's talk about the Herta's kit and how she works. Her kit has a lot of text in it, so I'ma try explain it as easily as I can. Her basic attack is a normal single hit. Her skill deals ice damage equal to 70% of her attack, then hits 2 more times, spreading out to the adjacent targets both times, meaning it'll hit the target in the middle 3 times and the 2 adjacents to the left and right 2 times and the furthest ones out 1 time. This will also inflict 1 stack of interpretation. When using her ultimate, it deals ice damage equal to 200% of the Herta's attack to all enemies. It will also increase her attack by 80% for 3 turns. It also will rearrange all interpretation stacks on enemies onto the main elite target. After using her ultimate, the Herta will immediately take action and will gain 1 stack of inspiration, which will allow the Herta to use her enhanced skill. The Herta's enhanced skill will consume the 1 stack of inspiration. Her enhanced skill works the same way as her original skill, but the 70% increases to 80%, and then another attack will trigger afterwards, dealing damage equal to 40% of the Herta's attack to all enemies. Herta's talent makes it so when an enemy enters battle, they are inflicted with 25 stacks of interpretation. Based on the number of interpretation stacks on the main target, the Herta's enhanced skill does 8% more damage to the main target and 4% more damage to adjacent targets per stack. If there are at least 2 ERUDITION characters in the team, including the Herta, the damage is increased by an additional 8 and 4% respectively. Interpretation can stack up to 42 times, and when using an enhanced skill, interpretation stacks will reset to 1. One of the Herta's major traces makes it so when allies attack enemies, they will inflict a stack of interpretation, and for every target hit, the Herta will regenerate a fixed 3 energy up to 5 targets. And when using enhanced skill, if the main target stacks are at 42, increases the Herta's ice damage dealt by 50% for the attack. Her next major trace makes it so when there is another ERUDITION character in the team, all allies' crit damage is increased by 80%. Also, the effects of the previous trace are enhanced, adding a guaranteed minimum target count for the target's hit per attack, enabling Herta to regenerate energy faster. The target with the highest stacks will gain additional stacks when attacked by an ally, and if that ally follows the path of ERUDITION, they will gain even more stacks. I'm gonna be honest, that one's a lot. I hope I made it simple enough. It's easy to understand when you watch it happen. Just know it makes her stronger. And her final major trace makes it so for every stack of interpretation inflicted, the Herta will gain 1 stack of answer up to 99 stacks. When using her ultimate, each stack of answer will increase the damage dealt by 1% per stack, meaning that's a 99% damage boost possibility for her ultimate. Herta's technique increases her attack by 60% at the start of battle for 2 turns. If there are chests nearby, her technique will mark them on the map, but only up to 3. And after using technique before entering battle in the simulated universe or divergent universe, you will deal true damage equal to 99% of the target's max HP and 30% to elite enemies. Her minor traces include ice damage, attack, and speed, so they are all good to get in the long run. And for what abilities to upgrade first, it would be best, in my opinion, to go from skill, talent, ultimate, and then finally the basic attack if you want. Her skill is where most of her damage comes from. Now, her kit has a lot in it. I hope I did well enough to explain it. If not, you'll figure it out over time. It's just a lot of words, but it's pretty simple when you actually just see it taking place, so trust me, you'll get it. But that's going to be it for her kit, so now let's talk about what relics to use. So, for the Herta's best relic set, I'll be honest, it's pretty simple. You're gonna want Scholar Lost in ERUDITION, which is the newest 4-piece set that recently came out, and it gives an 8% crit rate bonus and increases the skill and ultimate damage by 20%, and after using ultimate, additionally increases the damage dealt by the next skill by 25%, which is literally how Herta's kit is designed, so it is literally made perfectly for her. For the main stats you're gonna want either a crit rate or crit damage body. I personally like going for crit rate because it just guarantees the more crits, but it will depend on your substats. And then either attack or speed boots. This will depend on who you're pairing the Herta with in your teams, which I will talk about later in the team section for when to use which. Now, you shouldn't really do this, but I thought I may as well just mention it. It's cope, but Hunter of Glacial Frost is probably the only other set you'd use. Gives ice damage bonus, she's ice. Gives you crit damage bonus when you use your ultimate. Like, it's probably fine on her, but the Scholar Lost in Erudition is just the set for her, so I really wouldn't use anything else other than this. And then for her planar set, her best set will be the Izumo Gensai and Takama Divine Realm. Izumo. It gives an attack boost of 12% and a crit rate boost increased by 12% if you have someone of the same path in your team. And the Herta wants another Erudition character in her team, meaning it is the perfect relic for her. For the main stats, you would want ice damage bonus for the orb. And then for the rope, you can do attack percent. And then energy regen is actually fine in pure fiction, but overall attack percent rope will be better. So it's ice damage boost for the orb and attack percent for the rope. Another set that actually works for the Herta of the planar set is Rutilant Arena. A lot of people might have this already because it was really good back in the day. Increases crit rate by 8% when the wearer's current crit rate reaches 70% or higher. Damage dealt by basic attack and skill, which is what the Herta wants, increases by 20%. So this is a good substitute for the Herta if you don't have any of that Izumo set. And then for substats, it's pretty much you're just going to want crit rate, crit damage, attack, and maybe speed, depending on how you're building her. But otherwise, the main stats for the boot is the only thing that really changes depending on who her teammates are, and we will talk about that in the team section in a minute. But first, let's talk about her Lightcones. So, for Herta's best Lightcones, let's first talk about her signature Lightcone Into the Unreachable Veil. This Lightcone increases the wearer's crit rate by 12%, and when the wearer uses their ultimate, increases the skill and ultimate damage by 60% for 3 turns. After the wearer used their ultimate, if this instance of ultimate consumed 140 or more energy, which the Herta's always will because her ultimate is more than 140 energy, recovers 1 skill point. And if you figured out anything about her kit by now, the Herta will use her skill every time she goes, meaning she is going to be very skill point negative, meaning this Lightcone will just help out a good bit if your team isn't super skill point positive. So in my opinion, this is her best option because massive damage boost, free crit rate, and a skill point in someone who's completely skill point negative. It just helps in the long run. Like, it's not a crazy Lightcone or anything, but it is just really nice to have for just ease of access for the skill point. But other than that, it's a fine Lightcone that, if you want it, go for it. It is good. But let's talk about some other options. So a gacha Lightcone option, Genius's Repose. Increases the wearer's attack by 32%. When the wearer defeats an enemy, the wearer's crit damage increases by 48% for 3 turns. Now this is a solid gacha Lightcone, which actually will be appearing on the Herta's Lightcone banner. So if you don't get the signature Lightcone, this is another good option that is on the banner. And another gacha option, if you lose the 75-25 and you manage to get Night on the Milky Way, for every enemy on the field, increase the wearer's attack by 9% up to 5 stacks, and when the enemy is inflicted with weakness break, the damage dealt by the wearer increased by 30%. Obviously this is Himiko's signature Lightcone, however in pure fiction this can work really well on the Herta. But now for a free to play option, in my opinion, the Herta store Lightcone Eternal Calculus, it only makes sense, is the best free-to-play option for the Herta. It increases the wearer's attack by 12%, and after using an attack, each enemy hit additionally increases attack by 8%. This effect can stack up to 5 times, and if there are 3 or more enemies, increases speed by 16%, which is always nice. The other option is Seriousness of Breakfast, which is fine, I'll show it in a second, but in my opinion, Eternal Calculus is the best free-to-play option for the Herta. Seriousness of Breakfast here increases the wearer's damage by 24%, and for every enemy defeated by the wearer, the attack increased by 8%. It's good, it's free, I just think Eternal Calculus is better, but you can use this if you must. But then a Lightcone that a lot of people might not have is the Battle Pass Lightcone, Today is Another Peaceful Day. I personally already have this at S5 because I bought a lot of Battle Passes, But if you haven't bought at least enough battle passes to get this Lightcone and you haven't chosen it, you might not have it at S5. But after entering battle, increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy. Each point of energy increases damage by 0.4%. A max of 160 energy will be taken into account for this. And the Herta's ultimate is more than 160 energy, meaning this will be a really large, just free damage boost. The exact damage multiplied for the max energy gain will be 64% damage bonus, which is just really big and really massive. It's a really big damage bonus. If you have this Lightcone, it is really good if you don't want to use a signature Lightcone or any of the other ones. It's just a solid Lightcone overall. But yeah, she's got a good amount of Lightcones that can work for her. So now, here's a little summary to show you just everything you need to know. And now, let's get into the teams. Okay, so since the Herta wants an Erudition character on her team, let's talk about the Erudition characters I think will work with her. And in my opinion, the best possible pick for like full expense team will be Jade. Jade uses her skill on her teammate, thus increasing their speed by 30 points, which means this would be a place where you would use attack boots on the Herta, because you get the Herta up to 100, you get her up to 130 full speed if you're at 104, because it's a free 30 speed, meaning you can run attack boots for free, and yeah, you get those 2 extra turns in the first cycle. And Jade does massive AoE follow-up attacks when her teammate hits more targets. That's what the Herta does. It's just a really good combination for them to just perfectly piece together the puzzle just with each other. And then for more free-to-play options, we have Serval, who gets her ultimate up a lot quickly and can hit a lot of targets just really quickly with her ultimate and her skill all the time, just hitting a bunch of targets. She's basically a battery stack generator for the Herta, but she is an Erudition character, meaning she works as an option. Not my favorite, but she can work. And then, in my opinion, the best free-to-play option, which, if you think about it, it makes sense, is Puppet Herta. If you don't know how Herta works by now, her skill hits all enemies on the field, and when an enemy reaches below 50% HP and is hit, she triggers a follow-up attack, which again hits every enemy on the field, and of course her ultimate as well hits every enemy on the field, which makes her a perfect character to pair with the Herta, which it really does just make sense when you think about it. It's Herta and the Herta, like, come on. But yeah, they all work really well as the Erudition character that the Herta wants, and 2 of them are completely free. So let's talk about some buffers that would go in that 3rd slot on the team. So in my personal opinion, the best person for the team will be Robin. Robin is literally made to buff dual DPS characters, and especially characters that follow up, like the teammates of Jade and Puppet Herta, with the Herta, who just gains a lot of stuff from having Robin on the team. It not only buffs the Herta, but also buffs the Erudition teammate that she has, which you do want in the long run. But then if you just want to buff the Herta herself, Sunday is a great option, gives free energy so she can ult more, gives crit rate, gives crit damage, he gives everything you want, and he works really well there. You can also use Bronya or Sparkle in place of Sunday, however, the energy regen that Sunday provides is just so much better that you don't really need the other 2. And then you might see here I have the Harmony Trailblazer. That's not actually who you want here. You'll want Remembrance Trailblazer, but I obviously don't have them yet. And the Remembrance Trailblazer, thanks to Mem, gives another character that gives an action advance to your teammate. They're also an ice unit, so just full ice team you can do. Mem's attacks are all AoE, meaning that's another thing to regenerate energy for the Herta. And Mem allows for true damage, which, if you don't know what true damage is, I'm not going to explain it in this video. Think of it like, it's kind of like Super Break for crit. It's just an extra damage on top of the damage you're already doing. But that's another free unit that works perfectly with the Herta because the action advance, the fact that Mem just attacks a bunch, gives you the energy that you want. Yeah, it just works. But her supports are pretty self-explanatory, so instead, let's talk about who you'd use in the sustain slot. So now, if you've understood anything about the Herta's kit so far, I don't know if I really have, but you would know that this makes sense for who you would want in your sustain slot. Characters that can hit AoE. And Ling Sha is the best AoE sustain in the game. Her skill hits all targets, her follow-up attack hits all targets, and her ultimate hits all targets, meaning she is the perfect just placeholder, I guess, for that team to generate as much energy as you can and hit as many targets as you can for the Herta. Now, it isn't the best thing in the world because there isn't actually something in the game that is tailored specifically for the Herta, but it's the best what we got now. And Aventurine can also work in this team, but you're going to have to get lucky with his bounces from his follow-up attack because they have to hit enough targets for it to actually count. And Gallagher's ultimate, it hits all 5 targets, so it works instead of having Ling Sha, I suppose. It just kind of is what it is. Now, I don't have Hua Hua, but if I did, she'd be on the screen. Hua Hua's ultimate obviously regenerates energy, so it does work as it sounds. But she can't hit multiple targets, which does mean she'll be a little meh, but the energy regen she'll provide will likely make up for it. But yeah, if you know this channel by now, I'm the #1 Ling Sha shill in the world, and it's just another team that Ling Sha is the perfect fit on currently that we have in the game, because there isn't anyone else just yet. But yeah, Gallagher is the best substitute for free-to-play, and Aventurine can also work if you have him. Now, I just wanted to include this in the team section because if you're new to the game, it's 3.0, it'll make sense if you are. This is likely the best free-to-play team option that you're going to have if you're a new player pulling the Herta, since she's, the new main shiny thing on banner. It'll be the Herta in slot 1 with either Little Puppet Herta or Serval as your Erudition character, which are both free characters. The Remembrance Trailblazer would go right here as your support, since they are also free in the new 3.0 update. And Gallagher, if you're lucky enough to pull him, which it's possible that you just get lucky on standard banner and get him, but he is the best support that is a 4-star. Otherwise, I guess Natasha or Lynx will go here since they're both free. But yeah, I just wanted to point out the best free-to-play team that I believe exists currently for the Herta. But that is it for her teams, so now let's talk about the Herta's Eidolons. Okay, so the Herta's Eidolons. Her E1 states when enhanced skill calculates interpretation, additionally calculates 50% of the interpretation stacks on the one target with the highest stacks out of the primary target and adjacent targets. When using enhanced skill to reset interpretation, reset the stack number to 15 instead. Basically, this is roughly about, I think, if I did my math right, a 30 to 33-ish percentage damage multiplier buff, which is kind of just really strong to have. It's probably better than her Lightcone, if I were to do the math right. But yeah, it's really strong, so if you want her E1, it's worth it, it's good. And then her E2, after the Herta enters battle and uses her ultimate, she additionally gains 1 stack of inspiration. After using her enhanced skill, the Herta's subsequent action is advanced by 35%. Now what this means is when she uses her ultimate, she gains an additional stack of inspiration. And inspiration is what allows her to use her enhanced skill. Meaning when you use her ultimate, she will get 2 enhanced skills instead of 1, which basically means you'll probably be able to use her enhanced skill every single turn the Herta takes. Plus the action advance by 35% is just good. Action advance is always good, and that's just wow. So in my opinion, her E2's also really good. So E1, E2, if you're a spender and you like spending and you like the Herta, E2, that's good, go for that. Stop there. The Herta's E3 is just a skill and talent level up, and her E4 makes it so the speed of the characters following the path of erudition in the team increases by 12%. Like, that's cool, it's fine, you don't really need it. And then her E5 is an ultimate and basic attack level up. And then finally, the big hitter, her E6, makes it so the Herta's Ice Res Pen increases by 20%, and when the enemy targets on field is 3 or more, the ultimate damage multiplier increases by 140 for 3, 250 for 2, and 400 for 1, which is just really large damage multiplier bonuses depending on how many enemies are on the field, which just makes her do a gazillion damage. But you really don't need to go this far in the game. It's not that difficult, you need this. If you want to get E6 Herta, by all means, go ahead. It's strong, and if you like the Herta, go ahead, it's your money. However, if you were spending, I would personally stop at E2. However, you really don't need more than E0, as the Herta is strong enough at E0. Me personally, I will be going for E0 and maybe S1, I haven't quite decided yet. We'll see how my pulls go. But yeah, you really don't need Eidolons unless you really want them. No one can stop you, it's your own money and your own pulls, so do what you want. But that's it for her Eidolons, so now let me give you some final thoughts on the Herta. So, should you pull the Herta? In my opinion, if you don't already have 2 teams for the endgame content of Honkai Star Rail, yes. The Herta is a really strong unit and she is really free to play accessible with her teams, so by all means, pull the Herta. Now, we obviously don't know what's coming in the future of 3.0, but we're in a whole new world with a whole new path coming, so who knows what type of monsters of characters we're going to get. However, if you want a safe pick, the Herta is here, she has a really free to play accessible team, she's really strong, and she can likely beat Memory of Chaos, and as an AoE character, Pure Fiction, and that likely means she'll be able to do well in Apocalyptic Shadow as well, meaning if you want an all-rounder DPS who can do everything you need her to, the Herta will work perfectly for your account. But now if you already have 2 teams, and you're just pulling because you like the Herta, she'll work in a 3rd team, she'll work in a 4th. She's really strong and can be put anywhere as long as her team is correct and your build are good. You know, that's just how the game is at this point. But I've been waiting for the Herta to come out since, well, we knew Herta had a real form. So I'm just going to get her anyway, and I get every character at this point, so what am I even talking about? But I really like her design. She has a cool kit. It's a little yappy, but it's a really cool kit that's really strong. She'll work everywhere, and I'm really excited for myself to pull the Herta. But now for E1 or S1, in my opinion, I don't like going for Eidolons, because I make showcases, just having Eidolons for showcases. Me personally, I don't like it. But her E1 statistically, I think is a bit stronger than her Lightcone. However, her Lightcone is a good stat stick and just an ease of use stick, if that makes sense, because it gives you that extra skill point, meaning you'll be able to just have more skill points. Not really, because she's still skill point negative, but it just helps a little. It's nice to have, but her E1, more damage, Lightcone, more ease of use, I would say, so take with that what you will. But in my opinion, if I were to go for one, it would be her Lightcone, but I already said why. Now, I just wanted to add something else here since I had another thought. As the Emanator of ERUDITION, it makes sense that the Herta is likely now the strongest ERUDITION character we have in the game, seeing as though she's going to be able to work in all forms of content, which, if you know anything about the game so far, the ERUDITION has struggled in things other than MOC, but they were always kings and queens in Pure Fiction. But now we have someone that is strong everywhere, and brings up some other ERUDITION characters with her, like Jade, Herta, and Serval. Yeah, I just think it's really cool that the Emanator of ERUDITION is the savior of ERUDITION. But yeah, that's going to be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching my guide to the Herta. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I wish you luck in your pulls for the Herta if you're going for her. I hope you enjoy Honkai Star Rail 3.0, as I know I'm really excited. So, I hope to see you next time.